All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the latest in our CA Mainframe Performance Management Tech Talk series. Today we're joined by Matt McLaughlin, product manager on the team, who's going to be covering deeper insights with CE APM. Matt, take it away.
Thanks, Len. Thank you all for joining this webinar. My name is Matt McLaughlin. I'm a product manager at CA. And I want to make sure that you understand and that you're getting the most value from your CA products by solving the challenges that you have in the most efficient ways possible. As a member of the product management organization, my target is to understand the difficulties that you face and provide you the means to overcome them, whether this is through new products, through feature enhancements in existing products based on your feedback, or through better integrations in the products you already rely upon. Now, today is all about cross-enterprise application performance management and how it helps you deliver services to the new service metrics that your organization is held to, and these service metrics which translate into the new metrics that your boss is held to, and ultimately they become the reason that someone is perhaps interrupting your morning coffee. So, taking a step back, we accepted now that we're in an application-driven economy. We see this everywhere that disruptive startups have really taken the market by storm, changing the game for incumbents. We've seen Netflix and Hulu that have already transformed video in the same way that Square and Google Wallet have challenged traditional banks and credit cards and the way that we even spend money. Uber and Lyft are doing the same, rewriting the world of taxi services. And the commonality between all of these new market leaders is that they have an increased focus on user experience, on customer experience, and pivotally, they're lowering the barriers for entry to new customers, the aim being to make becoming a new customer or a new consumer of a service as painless, indeed as pleasurable as possible. Now, the flip side of this lowering of entry barriers is that it makes it a lot easier for your users to express dissatisfaction by changing suppliers. Customers can really afford to be fickle. So any perceived delay in an interaction can catastrophically increase the odds of a transaction being abandoned. It actively drives business to your competitors. Added to which, whilst client systems, and they can be PC, they can be tablet or mobile, whereas these client systems are getting quicker, users are equally getting less patient. Typically, a user will overestimate an interaction, the duration of an interaction, by around 35%. So whereas page loads, software responses, and transactions were formerly measured in seconds, now it's fractions of a second. And it's more appropriate to think in terms of a quarter of a second, literally less than the blink of an eye, becoming the new standard for judging user experience. Users aside as well, we have automated inter-systems processes that secure our infrastructure, they run our economy, and they won't simply tolerate delays. Relatively poor performance is punished by poor returns, and this is on a scale of millions of dollars per millisecond. These are just two obvious fields, user and system, where performance is key to the consumer, again, user or system. So this is where performance is the metric by which the owner of the platform, and the owner of the application, and the dev team, this is the metric by which you'll be rightly judged on your ability to deliver, whether the platform is distributed cloud or big iron. And whatever the platform, the metrics are the same. We'll return to this point later on, but a key takeaway is it's not enough to perform as required. Where there's a decline in mainframe investment over distributed, in some political climates, it's not enough to perform as well as competing technology. You really have to be able to prove it. Now, when you say mainframe, you want people to think of reliability, availability, serviceability. But mostly they think of legacy. And that's because if they work in an organization that leverages big iron, they know that the software and the business processes around that software have deep roots, where service availability has been a core requirement to businesses. Systems have been designed and implemented over years with that service availability as the focus, and stability and performance of mainframe applications has always been the flag bearer. The requirements specific to the application economy shake things up a little here, where optimal systems have been organically and iteratively developed over years to deliver well on well-understood and well-strategized requirements. Modern agile development and product management practices dictate change, fast and at a low cost. And this developmental change most directly impacts end user, with user experience more than ever the highest priority. But these applications are increasing in sophistication and functionality, so the services on offer are making new demands and heavier demands on your mainframe, and these need to be optimized for. When we surveyed the market last year, almost half of the mainframe shops we spoke to are actively delivering new services that engage the mainframe systems of record. But it's not even sufficient to state that new applications and services touch the mainframe and make new demands. To appreciate the impact on service delivery, we really need to understand the information and the transactional flows involved. So it's commonly called the Starburst Effect. What it means is that a single transaction within a user application, and this can be the press of a button, it can be the entering of text, it can be the swipe of a finger, or it can even extend to the physical space. It can be a swiping of a credit card, an RFID chip being read, an iris or identity document being scanned. Any of those actions can drive an exponentially greater number of systems interactions. And they can traverse disparate technologies across many platforms, each with their own SLAs and each with a different emphasis, balancing speed against veracity, against security, against cost. So when you have a performance complaint from an application engineer, whether a QA engineer in your DevOps group or a C-level exec sponsoring the new application initiative, as soon as someone says the mainframe is the bottleneck, you have 100 places to investigate and many different technologies and specializations. The investigation covers everything from application code to DB2 calls to IMS and KIX transactions. Most often the case in the application economy, an application owner is closely aligned with the business heads. Executives buy into a strategic decision, and they champion an initiative, putting infrastructure and capacity considerations after service delivery expectations. Now, the answer to this challenge from us is end-to-end monitoring of applications and infrastructure. CA provides the tools that provide the power and depth in their specialization, with the integrations that support workflows that traverse department and functional boundaries. And Cross-Enterprise APM is a prime example of how tools cross these boundaries, delivering value and helping you meet your service delivery commitments. So in case you don't know, in case you're not familiar with Cross-Enterprise APM, CE APM starts with CA Application Performance Management, or CA APM, and CA APM provides you the user interface and brings together data points from application hooks on the mobile through to probes and instrumentation on distributed platforms. And with CA Cross-Enterprise APM in the mix, mainframe metrics are provided to APM for the complete end-to-end view. So for example, here you can see the APM Team Center view of an application, and it's showing the components that constitute this application across the platforms. On the left, you see web services. On the right, you see KIX regions, and further right, the DB2 subsystem that powers the KIX region. And all green is all good. But green is great, red means action. So what we see here is a from two monitoring points, and they're both pointing to and effectively triangulating an average response time for an application that is not meeting either the goals or the SLA that you have in place. Now, if you're on the list that gets these alerts automatically, your starting point may be a ticket created in your ticketing system linking to this view directly. Otherwise, it could be a call to your mobile from an application owner trying to find out which neck to ring. With triage at this level, however, the complaint may not have reached the mainframe team yet, and bear in mind that we could be talking about seeing this view within seconds of the alert appearing at 3 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes you want your L1 and L2 support teams to validate an alert before your phone rings. And as those alerts propagate, we can see that they're being generated from kicks. Now, if this screen is being viewed by an ops or an app team, an app dev team, this will be the point at which they call the mainframe gurus. And the net benefit here is that they know who to call and when to call. And gone are the days of the war room scramble, and your mean time to resolution, if you think about it, has just been reduced by however long it used to take to get everyone together around a whiteboard. That's not an inconsiderable saving. In this application flow, there are 2 kicks regions that are used, and both are currently showing the red status. You get the first correlation without having to look hard. If a support ticketing system is set up in your organization, the on-call kicks resource already knows about this, and you're ahead of the game. The visual representation of our data points is shown as stacks and colors. It's to highlight where there are issues and the magnitude of those issues, but it's only the broad, shallow view. Each step, as you drill down into the metrics, you get the relevant data. For example, I've superimposed an expanded view of the overall kicks region metrics, and here you can see on the top right-hand corner, there's an increase in both CPU and transaction lifetime. And you start to see a deeper correlation straight away. Now, depending on your use case, you may only want to see shallow correlation data, and if that's your need, you can construct a dashboard in the APM web view like we have here. And this shows just that. It's an example with metrics pulled from distributed and pulled from mainframe. And as IT resources are being centralized and as the traditional silos are crumbling, this ability of APM is seeing more use as the audience for more general data, frankly, increases. APM also includes dashboard views out of the box. And this is to give a high-level indication of the health of transaction components. In this screenshot, we have filtered the Team Center view to show only those applications running in kicks, so as to find out the host name on which it's running. And as you can see, this makes triage, well, considerably easier. It's part of the drill down process is done for you by use of perspectives. You're able to focus exactly where the problem is. But this is wide and shallow, and I don't want to get sidetracked. This talk is about drilling down for deeper insights. So, back to the Team Center view. Other than picking up the phone or clicking the link in the service desk ticket, how does this bring us closer to remediation? Well, the value of APM and Cross-Enterprise APM in this use case comes from surfacing the data that is relevant to the user who is performing the remediation. And we call this perspectives, as I said, and it's what allows a user to see the steps of a transaction grouped in terms of what's relevant to them. It can be executed programs, hosts the programs execute on, operating systems that those hosts run on, the hypervisors that those operating systems run on, the locations where those hypervisors are hosted, or it can be equally the business unit or application associated, or even the business function associated with any of these components. And drilling down into the data, this gives us each step gets us close to remediation. Presenting the data in the context and perspective in which we operate helps us to quickly intuit where we need to focus our efforts. So in this case, I'm going to rely on an application trace to show us exactly where we want to look. And the APM application trace can be triggered manually or algorithmically. So it allows relevant data to be gathered without creating unnecessary overhead. The trace gathers details about the application across all monitored components. And since we have Cross-Enterprise APM, this means that we don't stop at the mainframe. We can drill all the way down. In this trace view, you can see the single transaction lifetime at the top. Now, as you go down the call stack, you can see the components called and how much time is spent in each. As we intuit the issue is in kicks on the mainframe, we have the distributed call stack collapsed at the top, so we can focus on the mainframe components. Now, in this trace, you can see 2 kicks transactions executed. You can see the region they ran in and the DB2 information. And here's what's important. This trace shows this information as it relates to the entire end-to-end application flow. And based on this information, it appears the slowest part of the application is, in fact, the mainframe. Clicking on the lines in the call stack, we can see additional details about that portion of the transaction. Here you can see more details about the kicks transactions CSMI in the kicks D251 region on the DE25 LPAR. Now, the duration is immense, and it takes up most of the execution time of the whole transaction. So we're almost at the source of the service degradation issue already. If we change our perspective slightly, if we look at the tree view, we have another visualization that makes it abundantly clear that the root cause is DB2, and specifically, it's the open statement that is the largest time consumer. Very much depending on your organization structure, there's a few people that could be viewing this far down. It could still be with your support organization if they have the skills. It could be with your operations team. And this could really be as far as they go. Or it could be with your app dev / applications team. And if they include mainframe skills, as is increasingly happening, they can go further still. Now, having identified the issue through APM and Cross-Enterprise APM, it still needs to be resolved. And in this instance, that's a strictly mainframe skills task. As APM and Cross-Enterprise APM surface the relevant data, cutting down the mean time to resolution, the tool to fix the task may still be a powerful and powerfully complex mainframe application. In this case, we're using SysView, and we can see the data points that are surfaced in APM at their source. Looking at the kicks alert panel of the region identified, we can see that it's exceeding CPU and lifetime thresholds. Drilling deeper from the kicks alert panel allows us to see the CSMI transaction is in fact causing the current issue. Maybe some tuning of the transaction code, the DB2 calls, or even the DB2 tables and indexes could improve the performance of this transaction. You see in the second shot below that looking at historical runs of the kicks transaction, we can see an example on the last line of a long lifetime and low CPU transaction. Now, there's a few ways that we can come to this conclusion, that we can get this information surfaced to us. If we have and if we use SysView, then you'll know already. But I'm glossing over a lot of this because the topic today is Cross-Enterprise APM. It's important to understand, however, how triage leads through the toolset, through your workflow, and to remediation. Now, from being notified of the issue through CE APM, we can see how a bit of forward planning also speeds up remediation. Using SysView's transaction lifetime threshold, for example, before the issue occurs, allows us to automatically trigger the CA Mainframe application tuner when the transaction runs longer than expected. And the value of this is that in the Mainframe application tuner, we can then see very quickly where the time is spent. Drilling into that module, there's the Mainframe application tuner histogram view, which shows the distribution of code, the distribution of code usage. Here's the compile listing registered to show statement numbers and verbs instead of offsets. And finally, we're able to open the compile listing for the module with the cursor positioned on the selected statement number. So in this case, you can see the problem is the program executes useless code 300,000 times. And this is just to illustrate how the statement responsible for the CPU execution can be pinpointed. But think of how far we've come in just the last few minutes, from alert to code in relatively few steps. and from the reporter to the remediator to remediate it in the shortest path possible. So we've seen how APM is extended into the mainframe with Cross-Enterprise APM. But for the whole picture, this is what it looks like when AXA or MAA extend back into the mobile application. In the screenshot above, notice how the transaction follows into the KICS region, right into the back end of the DB2 database, all starting from the mobile. Also, notice the timeline view at the top of the window. And this is the area where you see green, red, and yellow dots. The timeline view is particularly helpful when it comes to detecting patient zero, which is you can roll back in time to find out what changed, what could be linked to a deviation in application performance. We've already looked at the metrics on the right-hand panel, but clicking on those metrics is another way into that detailed web view. And with that, we've pretty much come full circle. So solving an issue like this leads to high fives, leads to pats on the back, as it should. But tomorrow will bring new challenges, and it'll bring new demands on your mainframe and your existing applications. Well, Cross-Enterprise APM has you covered, with complete application performance management, with coverage drawing metrics and data from every step from the browser through the mainframe, with scaling that works across the largest enterprise for effortless expansion, processing millions of metrics into actionable data, into actionable alerts, easy BRTM to measure business impact of transactions. And this is what allows you to proactively inform your business execs with custom dashboards, with reports, putting information in the terms that they expect and they understand. Because when your CEO is asking you what's wrong with it, it's already too late. And vitally, early detection to find problems before they impact your users and before they impact you. Cross-Enterprise APM gives you the visibility and the depth you need. It integrates into the CA tools you already have and that you use, providing end-to-end transaction tracing, triage, and ultimately leading you to resolution. Now, the demands of the application economy are not going to be reduced. With each new iteration of a service, with every new must-have feature or functionality, that ultimately leads back to your single mainframe system of record. You must be ready to adapt if you're going to perform. And that's where CE APM comes in, helping you to deliver on your promises. And that's where CA comes in, delivering the tools that make that happen. So a brief presentation. Thank you very much for your time and attention today. Now, I hope you got value from the use case that I described. And I'm sure that many of you will have encountered situations very similar to this in your working lives. And if it was before you gained CE APM, you'll immediately see the CA advantage here. I also hope you get to see the value of a holistic view and a holistic approach. Cross-Enterprise APM and the use of perspectives to funnel the data, providing you with only what's valuable to you, and an interface which supports intuitive, rapid drilling down, in this case all the way down to the 3270 with Sistu and Matt. If you'd like to know more, we will continue to explore and share this and other workflow and integration schemes and systems in the future. The next big opportunity for that, you may have heard, will be CA World 16. And we'll be at CA World to answer your questions, more importantly to collect your feedback and present additional workflows. There will be pre-CA World technical sessions going into more depth, and during the event itself, a greater focus on technical content than in previous years. In fact, this year, we will have twice the amount of mainframe technical education, with focused technical breakout sessions, pre-events hosted by subject matter experts, and fellow customers from around the world telling you how they solved their challenges. If you can make it, we'd love to see you in Vegas. Until then, expect more tech talks like today. If you have an established communication path to your account or customer advocacy teammates, you can leverage that. If not, or if you prefer, you can reach out to me directly. And if I can't answer your queries, I can certainly route them to the right people. We know at CA that mainframe is a critical system, and it's a core part of the application economy. And driving your success is what we are here for. So we will be reaching out to you again with more ways that CA can remove the barriers between ideas and outcomes. So whilst we wait for any questions you may have, here's the next step again. Contact us, please, either through your account team, or you can directly email me. You can see my address, mattmclaughlin@ca.com. I'll be happy to hear from you. And if I can't answer your question, I'll find the answer for you. If you're at CA World, come and say hello. I'd love to hear what you have to say about Cross-Enterprise APM and about how else we can assist you, how we can help you do your job.
All right. Thank you very much, Matt. Great presentation. I don't see any questions, so I think we can just wrap up for this week. Thank you very much, Matt, for the great session, and thank you to our attendees for their time today. I will be getting this published out in the community later today, and we'll see you for the next one. All right. Thanks very much, everybody.